Point out a couple things here from this text that seems to suggest how Paul sees the church. A lot of people see a church or hear the word church and they think of just the building. And obviously, Paul means more than that. He speaks of it as his body, meaning Christ's body, meaning its people. But beyond that, it's even a specific type of people. And so I think you see three things here we talk about in regard to salvation. You see justification, which is being set apart, deemed righteous by God. There's sanctification, the growth process of becoming more and more like Christ, which is a work the Spirit does in you. And there's glorification, the day where you will stand before God in His presence, made right before Him, sin removed, temptations are gone, an immortal body given to you. Those things happen with glorification. So what do we see happening here? Well, Paul first of all says, don't forget who you were. You were formerly alienated. You were hostile in mind. You were engaged in evil deeds. We don't have good people who just needed to affiliate themselves with a church, just needed to become members, just needed to get a little bit of Jesus in their life. We have people who were hostile to God, who were engaged as an enemy of God's, who He reconciled. He brought them into relationship with Him through the work of Jesus Christ. That's justification. We also see that it says they will be presented before Him, that in order to present you holy and blameless beyond reproach. That's really the focus toward glorification, that we see the day is coming when God, when Ephesians 5 says, when Christ will present His bride before God, holy and blameless without any spot or wrinkle. And so that day is coming, and those people are those who are within the church. And then there's this phrase, he says, if indeed you continue in the faith. And that can confuse some people. They can think that's a reference to some kind of work salvation where Jesus got you in the door, but now you got to work your way through it to make sure you stay saved. That's not what Paul's saying here at all. What he's saying is how you can identify those whom God has justified and will glorify is by seeing a continuance of faith in that person. They will continue on in the faith, firmly established and steadfast. This means that the person who is part of the body of Christ has the work of justification applied to them, is longing for the day of glorification to come, and in between that time is seeing sanctification happen. They are becoming more and more like Jesus Christ. Obviously then, this means the church can only be those who have trusted Christ. You know, some people recently, as they talk about their church, maybe they understand not to speak of the numbers of the building or size of square footage or its layout, but instead they go to people. But yet they'll still just say, well, our church has blank number of people in it, and all they're referencing is attendance figures. Well, that may be people that have visited once and are never back, and there's a steady stream of people checking the church out. May even be a reference to those who are faithfully attending, but those faithful attenders may not even be people who have completely trusted Christ. No, the church specifically is a body of people who have come to Christ for salvation. They have been justified. They will be glorified. They are being sanctified. Something else to see from this is also that he describes that they are the Gentiles, this mystery that we talked about Sunday. The mystery is back, and it's that Christ is in the Gentiles. And I think one of the things we also want to see from this as we look to what God desires for His church to look like and how He defines it. It's not a group of people that have found some other affinity. They all have the same hobby. They're all of the same ethnicity. They all are of the same social or economic status, and then they also go to church together. But the emphasis here seems to be that they're a varied group of people, and what they have in common is that Christ is within them. And so the church doesn't model itself or fashion itself in systems that are very popular today of how to grow the quickest is to find the specific affinity group and then try and attach Jesus to it. No, Paul's vision seems to be that you're making the gospel call available to all people in varied circumstances, so that when they even gather together, part of what is being declared is you look around the room and kind of think, the only thing these people have in common is Christ. and the hope of glory that's within him. And so when we talk about the church, when we think about what the church is supposed to look like, these kind of things help bring that into it. It is the gospel actively working in those people, and the kind of people it's working in can vary greatly.